What's going on, everyone? My name is Size, and welcome to our Infinite Infusion Huntress build. Now, this build's an absolute blast to play, being able to get an infinite infusion uptime, basically, with Red Flare Conduit and Kotoko's Current Gloves. We're able to go through and have really great AoE because of that, being able to clear maps pretty efficiently. It's a ton of fun to see the explosions of the infusions go off. We do amazing damage with using Shock Burst rounds, and overall, the build is a blast to play on Huntress, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Also, on the Mobalytics guide, I have leveling sections for like leveling skills and the trees and stuff that I took going through the campaign that you guys can look at if you're having issues or you want to start out right out the gate with crossbows. Now, before we get into it, if you guys do enjoy the video or you like what I'm doing on my channel, if you consider hitting that like on the video and a subscribe to the channel, it does help me out immensely. It also helps with the YouTube algorithm, and right now that is the best way to support me. Also, I'm going to be live right now on YouTube and Twitch streaming the build. So if you guys have any questions or you want to vibe with me, come on over. The links for that will be in the description as well as the comment section of the video. All right, let's get right into it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here is the actual interaction of how we're generating infinite infusions with the Amazon Ascendancy. So the way we're doing this is by running Red Flare and Kotoko's Currents. So what Red Flare does basically is it's going to give us a 20% chance to gain a power charge whenever we hit an enemy. Now, this is really good considering that we're running crossbows with really high basically attacks per second, or really good clear skills like galvanic shards, shock burst rounds, etc. So we're going to get a lot of hits per second. It means we're going to get a lot of power charges. Now we're going to be running Kotoko's as well. This way we can run Combat Frenzy, and once we're doing the shock damage and lightning damage, that'll be converted to electrocution buildup, which means we can actually electrocute, which then Combat Frenzy will give us a frenzy charge. Now from there, it's pretty simple. We just start charging Fusion on, and every few seconds, about 4 seconds, at gem level 14, we're going to hit a power frenzy and adorn charge consumed, which means we'll get all those infusions and etc. So that's really good, and that's how we're basically able to get this like infinite infusion loop and really have an amazing AoE, since we basically are double dipping into running, for example, galvanic shards for clearing, and then we're also getting infused weapons, so it's like doubling our damage basically whenever we have them up. So that's why we want to have as many up as we can, as well as that infinite loop, so we can have really good clearing. And then when it comes to bossing, we absolutely shred with shock burst rounds. So now that that's out of the way and you guys know how this mechanic with infinite infusions is working, we can get into crossbow and why we're running it. So the reason why we're running crossbows, like I said, is because it has a lot of high attacks per second, which we can play into Red Flare and Kotoko's to get a lot of charge generations with infusion. On top of that, I really do like the playstyle of crossbows. I think galvanic shards is really good this league. It did get a buff in the patch notes a little bit, getting the physical damage converted to lightning damage higher than it was before. And then shock burst rounds are still absolutely amazing for bossing. And overall, the build has such a high skill ceiling, I believe, that it can be very, very broken with a lot of investment and more towards the end game. And even with the currency that we have invested, which is about 20 to 25 exalts right now, the build is absolutely blasting. We're in about T4, T5 maps, and I'm not having any issues killing bosses or enemies or anything like that. And overall, it is a blast to play. For a crossbow, you basically just want to look for a very high physical damage one with attack speed. We're not running crit right now because it's too much investment early game. We'll be flipping into crit later on, and I'll make an updated version on that. But for right now, we're doing a non-crit version. We can look for basically all bases of crossbows. Like I said, again, just prioritize those stats I said earlier. If you can also look for a twin crossbow, that'll allow us to get an extra bolt loaded in, and that does help get a little bit more DPS. But obviously, just buy the best physical damage with attack speed crossbow you can on the market for the budget range that you're looking for. For our gloves, we are running the Kotoko's Currents Jeweled Gloves. Just try to look for the reduced attack and cast speed low as possible. And obviously the dex, if you can roll it high, that's nice as well to give them more attributes to the build overall. For the helmet, we want to look for high evasion rating, obviously trying to be res capped, looking for, reses and life and stuff like that. Same thing with the boots, just trying to be res capped. Looking for any defensive layers, we're looking for high evasion again, and then obviously move speed so we can zoom around while we're doing maps. For our belt, I went with utility because I do really like the fact that we can get the flash recovery applied instantly. Looking obviously for reses again. We do need to roll int and stuff like that, so we do roll them on our rings, and then anything else on the belt like strength, dex, anything overall will help the belt out even more. Like I said, for our rings, since we're talking about them, we just want to roll reses on the ring since we're early game, and we do need int so we can run some of our jewels and other stuff. So we roll double int on both rings, prioritizing also if we can roll like lightning damage or physical damage or something, or any good flat rolled damage on our rings to get more damage overall to the build will help with clearing. Like I said, for other ones, same thing, reses, just damage and any type of defense modifiers on there. For the amulet, we are going to look for spirit because we are running a good amount of reservations. So we want to roll spirit on there. Again, looking for attributes or increased evasion rating, reses, anything like that on the amulet will be more beneficial and will help the build out immensely. For the back bar, we are running a bow. This is, I know, interesting. The reason why we're running it is because we want Stormcaller Arrow on there. Now, they did basically kind of go in and nerf Plasma Shot. Doesn't really feel as good as it did before. We were testing it out, and we just couldn't apply the electrocution and like instantly on bosses, and then the shock would go off, and obviously to reapply it takes too long to recharge your skill. So it's better to run bow and then just put a Stormcaller Arrow like skill gem in with conduction and stuff like that. So this way, you know, we can kind of spam it once or twice, swap back over to the main skill, get the shock, and you know, it's a lot quicker to reapply if we need to later down the line. So that's why we run a bow. Again, just look for one that has some decent damage. You don't need anything insane, as you can see here on the screen, but something decent that does have some type of damage to get Stormcaller Arrow. You don't have more damage when the lightning bolt calms down to have a better chance of applying shock. For the quiver, same thing. Anything with like flat added lightning or physical damage will be more beneficial here, and that pretty much covers it for the gear that we're running. Now we can get into the skills we're running. So for our infused weapon, we are running executes. This way we have basically more damage against enemies that are on low life. This just allows us to kill them quicker if we do proc it and, you know, we're hitting them and their life drops below that 50% value. Primal Armament, obviously, to get more weapon elemental damage out of all three of the infusions if we do, you know, go through like Frenzy or Power Charge, etc. Long Shot, obviously, to have more attack damage scaling away from us, so they have a little bit better like kind of chain clearing away from us and off-screen clearing once we do hit that from time to time. Then we're running Ice Bite for the final support here, so it'll get more damage as cold damage basically whenever it kills a frozen enemy. And since we are doing, you know, power charges that will convert our physical damage to cold, this takes full effect here. For our scatter shot rounds, this is our main DPS. We have it on a 3-link right now. I would like to go a 4-link. I'll have everything obviously in the POB set to like 4 links and stuff like that. But for right now, I have stuff set on 3 links in here because I just have not gotten the Jeweler's Orbs to make it. But we're running Elemental Focus. This way we'll get more damage on Shock Burst rounds. Obviously more attack speed because that's what you want here to be able to shoot the bolts out quicker. And then Conk Effects, this way it has a lot more area damage. Then we get into our Galvanic Shards. This is going to be our main clearing skill we're going to run around and clear maps with. We want to do Nimble Reload on here because the reload time is pretty long on it. This definitely adds a huge quality of life thing to it. It allows us to kill quicker. Potential because we need this since we're generating frenzy charges, or not frenzy, sorry, power charges off of our Red Flare conduit. We don't want to be consuming and generating a crap ton of them with our Galvanic Shards, because then if we're generating so many of them, we're going to be, you know, shocking ourselves constantly. So we do that so this way it can't generate power charges and we can avoid that. And then we do Forks. This way, you know, we have a better clearing capability with the skill and it just feels a lot better. Then we're running Emergency Reload. This allows us to click the button, instantly reload if we run out of ammo, and this will give that whole clip a lot more damage, and it allows our Shock Burst rounds to do a lot more bossing DPS once we run out of the first clip. Going into Herald of Thunder, we are going to be supporting this with Enervate to get more lightning damage on the skill whenever it attacks or kills a shocked enemy. Then we do Lightning Pen, obviously, to have more penetration of it when the bolts come down, with Lightning Infusion to give the skill overall more lightning damage. And this just helps with the clearing. Running Wind Dancer, again, to get more evasion rating. Charge Infusion, so this way we can consume the power and frenzy charges we generate. Combat Frenzy, so this way it'll synergize with Kotoko's, so this way whenever we electrocute an enemy, we'll actually generate that frenzy charge. And then we are going with Stormcaller Arrow, like I said earlier, with Conduction, so this way whenever we call down the bolt, it'll have a better chance of actually shocking the enemy. And this is our main way of shocking him once we're doing bossing. We'll go in, shock, throw our mark on the enemy, and then just go with Shock Burst rounds and just wipe him out instantly. And then we go with Voltaic Marks. This way, once we apply that mark, you know, the magnitude of shock on the enemy will get multiplied, and it'll be overall a lot more damage we're doing to it. And that's basically covers it for the jewels that we're running there. So we're going to go into the Ascendancy first, then we'll do the Passive Tree. So for the Ascendancy, I've only done 2 labs, haven't done 3. For lab 1, I would go with Elemental Infusion if you're going to be trying to run Kotoko's and Red Flare. If you're not running that and you don't have that while going through campaign and stuff and story, I would go Predatory Instinct first, as this will give you a lot more damage overall. But if we're talking about endgame wise, Elemental Infusions first, then into Predatory Instinct, and then I would go into Infused Avatar to have, you know, less chance of your projectiles being consumed, which means for uptimes of infusions. And then finally, we'll probably start evasion stacking with Stalking Panther. Like I said, this will probably change once we start crit stacking, but I'll have an updated guide to that once we actually do and we start accuracy stacking and stuff like that. So we're wanting to go into like Critical Strike, but for now, we're not doing that. For the passive tree, it's pretty simple. We're just going to come down and do Primal Instinct for the attack speed, obviously, and the effect is nice. We have to go into Eagle Eye basically to get down. The accuracy is not bad, but we want to get down and go basically into Harness the Elements so we can increase damage for each type of elemental ailment on an enemy. Then we're going to come down basically and go into Stand and Deliver, because this will just be a lot more damage the closer we are to them. And since we're running basically, you know, Galvanic Shards while mapping, and we're running into enemies, and we're basically always super close to bosses, we might also take that just a lot more damage, even if we're not taking full effect of the crit damage that it gives. Then we're going to go into Catalyst, obviously, for the increased elemental damage with attacks, going down with Exploit, so this way we can get a lot more damage against enemies affected by ailments, which we always basically have full uptime of. Then we're going to come up and go into Coming Calamity to basically get that increased lightning damage since we're affected by Herald of Thunder. And then the damage that, you know, we get while affected by a Herald is really nice as well. From there, we're going to come up to this Jewel Socket, keep going all the way up, and go into Wild Storm to get the more maximum lightning damage because it's huge and gives a lot more DPS to the build. And then we're going to take Exposed to the Storm so we can get that lightning pen or that lightning exposure that we're going to pen through. It's really good there. Finally, we're going to come down and we're going to go to the side here from this Jewel Socket and go into Falcon Technique. It's a lot more attack speed and dex, and overall it does help the build in the, you know, like Shock Burst and Galvanic Shards area a lot, because it'll be able to shoot a lot more. From there, we're going to go into Acceleration, obviously, for the movement and skill speed. And then we're actually going to come all the way down, basically, and go into Lightning Rod. So it just gives us overall a lot more average damage, which is huge. Then we're going to go into Flash Storm for that increased chance to shock and that lightning penetration that we get. Then we're going to go down into Giant Slayer, that increased damage against rares, and the accuracy rating and all that, and chance to inflict ailments is massive and gives us a ton more damage against bossing and against tanky rares that we find in maps. From there, we're gonna go into Stand in the Eyes. This is just a ton more attack speed, plus the blind chance that we get is absolutely massive. And that pretty much wraps it up for now. Obviously, I'll have the tree a little bit more fleshed out for later levels, but we're currently like level 70, and that's what the tree is currently looking for us. As for jewels, which you would want to put on the tree, I don't even really have that many in, but the jewels that I'll be looking for are like projectile damage or attack damage, and anything else with it, you know, that can give us more damage overall. It'll be more beneficial, like attack speed or something like that rolled onto it. But that's basically what I'll be looking for when I'm buying my jewels, which should be here very soon. I also forgot to say we're actually going into Frazzled for the increased like magnitude of shock and stuff like that we inflict. But that's pretty much it for the tree, the gems, the jewels, the gear, all that good stuff. Like I said, the build's absolutely amazing, being able to inflict basically, you know, the infinite infusions that we're getting. The clear is really nice. The bossing DPS is pretty spicy as well. And all this is being played on a non-crit version. So once we hit crit and get some good items, the build is definitely going to skyrocket up. And overall, it's a ton of fun, and I think you guys are really going to like it. Like I said earlier, if you guys do enjoy the videos or you like what I'm doing on my channel, if you consider hitting a like on the video and a sub to the channel, that is the best way to help me out. It does help with the YouTube algorithm as well, and in turn, that is the best way to support me. I also am live right now on YouTube and Twitch streaming the build. If you want to come by, ask questions about the build or anything like that, the link for that will be in the description, as well as the comment section below. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and night when you're watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.